Welcome to Dollars and Cents, Creating Your Fulfilled Life with Nicole Romito from Private Vista. In this podcast, we draw from years of experience as well as guest specialists to help you create the life you imagine. Join us in this journey as we enlighten and empower you to align your lifestyle to help you achieve your goals with a clear picture of your future. Now, let's get to the show.
And welcome to the Dollars and Cents podcast with your host, Nicole Romito. Nicole, good to be with you again. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Bill. As always, I'm excited to be back with you in our studio. And, I get more excited, well, not more excited, but I am always extra jazzed, if you will, when I have some of my fabulous colleagues in studio with me. And that Absolutely. Is the case today.
Yeah, great. Who do we have and what are we talking about?
Well, we have Lorena Lopez and Matt Currier. So welcome, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So good to have you. And what we are going to talk about is Giving Tuesday.
Giving Tuesday. Ah, yes. That is a pretty important day on a lot of people's calendars, and I think rightfully so. So how, in what context are you going to be talking about it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Bill, because as you and our longtime listeners know, generally Private Vista would be talking about kind of the financial aspects and the different strategies that we discuss with our clients for those who want to benefit the organizations that they support. So we generally, pun intended, get into the dollars and cents of it. Mm-hmm. But today, Matt, Lorena, and I are going to talk about what is Giving Tuesday. We're going to talk more about the why. Share some things about what we do here at Private Vista, both as a firm, and then individually, the three of us are going to share a little bit about how we give back to those organizations that we care and support.
Excellent. Can't wait for the conversation.
Great. Well, I know we're all excited and chomping at the bit. But before we do that, for our listeners, I want to get a little bit of background on my two colleagues I have with me today. So Matt Currier started his career in the financial services industry back in 2015, and he started out in commercial banking. He then transitioned to the personal wealth management side and earned his CFP designation. For our listeners, that's the Certified Financial Planning designation. And we were lucky enough to have him join our team back in 2019, and he is one of our fabulous advisors. Also with us is Lorena Lopez. She, I cannot believe this, has been with Private Vista since 2001. She is the face and voice of our Loop office. In addition, she really is the glue that keeps our downtown office running smoothly. She helps us keep everything stocked and I know she's very well at managing me, and I appreciate that, always with a smile on her face. And she certainly is a key team member in helping us prioritize and giving great client service. So welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So with that, before we start our conversation, I'm just going to give a brief background on what is Giving Tuesday. And then, as we said, we'll get into a little bit about how we're utilizing it or supporting it here at Private Vista. So Giving Tuesday is a global movement to unleash the power of radical generosity. I just love that description. I think it paints a really vivid picture. And it was founded by a team of innovators at the Belfer Center for Innovation and Social Impact in New York City. They wanted to create a movement to harness the power of social media and technology in order to promote charitable giving. It was created back in 2012, and they wanted to remind people of the joy and fulfillment of helping others and contributing to charitable causes that resonate with their own personal values. It is set to always be the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. And this year that falls on November 28th. So I think Matt, Lorraine, and I do want to say Happy Giving Tuesday to all our listeners out there. And so why don't we, now that our listeners know a little bit about the genesis of this day, why we're spending some time talking about it, I thought it would be great if each of us could kind of start off with what does either Giving Tuesday mean to each of you individually, or how do you like to give back, whether it's with your time, with your energy, or financial resources? So I'll let whichever one of you want to go first.
Thanks, Nicole. And that's a really great question. And that explanation you gave at Giving Tuesday really got some thoughts going. But in terms of Giving Tuesday specifically, I think for me, around the holiday season, it's easy to get caught up in the materialistic side of things with which isn't necessarily a bad thing. We all love doing things for our loved ones, our friends, and our family members in terms of gifts, which we may or may not need in order to depending on what we're talking about. But Giving Tuesday is great in the sense that we can take at least one day at the beginning of the holiday season and carry it that through the holiday season to focus on how can we give back? How can we do more for those who might be able to use those resources in a way that's different than the traditional gift giving sense that sometimes we get caught up in as we move through the holidays.
Thanks, Matt. I love that and couldn't agree more. It's great to show your appreciation for your loved ones with material things, but I do think the true spirit of the holiday season is about giving back or helping others. Lorena, how about you?
I agree with that. For me, Giving Tuesday is sharing my time, my talent, and treasures with my family and friends. Also, especially helping the ones that are in need of love. Just sharing a warm smile. Just stopping by to listen to, have someone to listen to, because sometimes there's people out there that just want someone to listen to. Giving your generosity and kindness, that's what brings me happiness into my life, being able to help others without expecting anything in return.
Well, I think that is probably the true definition of Giving Tuesday, and certainly selfless giving. So, and I know I see both of you embody those values on a day-to-day basis. So I would say I'm fortunate to, and I think all of us would agree on this, that here at Private Vista, we're all always willing to help out one another, whether it's on the personal side or if we just need an extra hand when we're helping our clients, but also to our family members and the organizations that we support outside of Private Vista. So I think with that, why don't we kind of talk about from the Private Vista perspective. We have many committees here at the firm, which we find is a great way for our fellow team members to be able to get to know each other better, continue to build those relationships. And one of those committees, which we've had for a long time that both of you are on, is our fundraising committee. So you want to share a little bit about what does that committee do, and then kind of how does it operate on behalf of the firm throughout the year?
Sure, I could start it off. So typically, the beginning of the year, we have everybody in the office vote for a different charity. And this year, for example, we voted, or the one that we are honoring this year is the City Year Chicago. It's a local charity that one of our coworkers is a member. So we decided to support her this year. So in how we support the charity is by doing different fundraisers. We do like March Madness. We'll sell some snacks here in the office. And the good thing, at the end of the year, the firm would match it, whatever we made in profits.
Yes, I think we have found that food is a great way to raise money here at Private Vista. Thank God all of us walk around a lot and exercise.
Absolutely. And to add on what Lorena had to say, I think the biggest thing for us, going back to one of our fundamentals, is we try to keep things fun in the sense that it's really cool to see at the beginning of the year, we take input from each of the employees here at Private Vista about which causes might be worthy of our support in any given year. And even we have a ton of feedback from a ton of very esteemed organizations, and we do have to just pick one each year, unfortunately. But the good news is that we get to see the point of view of what these organizations mean to each of our team members when they provide the context of how we could help their mission and what we could do for them. And even in the throughout the course of the year, if they're not the official Private Vista charity, what I found is that all of our team members here are willing and eager to help throughout the course of the year for each other's causes with that they're pursuing over the course of the year. And even if it's not necessarily monetarily, it's just raising awareness or passing along that information to others in our network. And I really do believe we have strength in numbers in that sense. And it's great to see each other supporting one another.
Yeah, and I know whether it's learning about the organizations that other Private Vista team members support, and that could be a variety of ways. I know many of us are on boards. Many of us, Lorena, as you mentioned, enjoy giving back, time or money, whether it's, volunteering for a specific event, or just as the needs of the organizations maybe ebb and flow over time. So I know for me, it's been great just learning about there's so many organizations to choose from, but I feel like I get to know each of you a little better, and certainly other colleagues by, okay. So I know, Lorena, you're very involved with your church. You do a lot of great travel for missions and things like that. I think that is so incredible. I'm in awe of you doing that. And then I know, Matt, you're on a board that helps a local community here in Chicago. So I think it's really cool that we can all do it in different ways. And then also, to build on what you said, Matt, is just being able to leverage the awareness, any resources that we're being able to direct to the well-deserving organization, and then just kind of spreading the word. Because I know a lot of us will maybe repost on LinkedIn or other social medias, and that's a great way to support it as well. It's just building the awareness. So with that, I think before we kind of dive in a little, I hinted a little at what you guys do personally. So we talked about the fundraising committee. We pick, as you said, Lorena, one organization a year, and like anyone at Private Vista can nominate the organization. Generally, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think it usually does have a personal connection to one of our team members. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, great. And so I think that's another way that we collaborate and try to help and lift one another up. We talked about kind of some of the contests or, different ways we'll do that. What are some of the other things that the fundraising committee has coordinated on behalf of Private Vista being able to help out our community?
We done our special events. We have once a year, we select an organization and do a special event. Like, for an example, we done the Boys and Girls Club, where we gone and paint their gym, fix their technology room, and so forth. And even this year.
Do you think they were better off with it? For our listeners, I was not on that subgroup, but our kids would have been back on AOL. I'm just teasing, but yes, I know we've done Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, no, even last month, several members of the firm participated in our annual service project. We went to the Great Chicago Food Depository, where we were able to pack some beans for some families and just showing our time and volunteer.
Yeah, Matt, anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, I think the coolest part, or one of the coolest parts about that, is just getting the team together collectively for a day or an afternoon and in support of a common cause. I'd say we pride ourselves in one of the things we do really well here at Private Vista is work as a team in our day-to-day financial planning, trusted advisor types of roles, but getting the team together off-site at the location of these specific causes. Lorena had mentioned the Greater Chicago Food Depository. Last year, we went out and supported a cause, which was Habitat for Humanity, really hands-on, roll up your sleeve type of.
Yeah, we definitely saw different skill sets of our colleagues that day, for sure.
Exactly, but all kidding aside,
nobody lost any fingers.
No, we made it out unscathed, to my knowledge. But all kidding aside, it is a unique opportunity to see us all together in a different type of environment and really play off one another and set aside that time to help those causes, I think just really deepens our connection as a team and helps build those types of bonds.
I agree. And I think we get to spend time with colleagues that maybe we're not getting to interact with on a day-to-day basis, whether it's we're generally at maybe different office locations or just if your roles don't overlap or interact on a day-to-day basis. So I always enjoy getting to hang out and learn more about the colleagues, at least for those that fall into that box for me. All right. Let's see. So we've done Boys and Girls Club, Habitat for Humanity. We just did the Greater Chicago Food Depository. Trying to think, is there any other ones we've done, like for the big group, like our day of service?
What's coming into mind?
I know, I think that's it. Because okay, and for our listeners, I know we'll be talking about this too, but at Private Vista, we do this during what would be a typical work day. But because we know it is so important, and one of our core values is that we actually do close our offices. Generally, it's for like an afternoon so that all of our team members can come and participate. Okay. So with that, is there anything else on the fundraising committee or things that we want to share about that we've done like kind of firm-wide?
Hey, pardon the interruption. I know you are listening to Dollars and Cents, Creating Your Fulfilled Life with Nicole Romito, and we're happy you're here. If you have any questions, please head over to myprivatevista.com or the show notes to find out how to reach us. We'd love to hear from you.
Everybody loves the food. So I'm thinking falls in the season. We'll probably have to do some soups and something just to raise some more funds for this year's organization.
I like that. And we all know that Maria's baking is always very
Yes.
popular. So that is not a very subtle clue, Maria, that we're waiting. So, okay. So with that, if you're comfortable sharing, I know I alluded to it a little bit, but do we each want to share like the organizations or family members or however and whoever that we support that is outside of, our all firm efforts? And if you'd like, I can start off if that'd be easier, or I can go last, whatever's easier for you.
Go for it. Lead us off.
Okay. So I too, couldn't agree more with something that Lorena said. And it's sometimes people just need someone to listen. And the power of someone feeling like they've been heard it's really immeasurable, and something that sounds so little, or you might be like, well, okay, so I just called them up or I just listened because I know they're going through a tough time. One of the things I do is I am a big sister through the Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Metropolitan Chicago. And excuse me, I have noticed too that oftentimes, even if we're not even talking about any like big life-changing situation or things like that, just for my little sister to have somewhere or someone to talk to and know someone's thinking about her and has her back, I've seen a big transformation with her. And then I think also I am on the board of Girls in the Game. So no surprise, I know for Matt and Lorena, I am all about empowering young women and grown women as well. We're making progress there, but still a lot of work to be done. So Girls in the Game helps support young women who are in third grade through high school to help them gain confidence and leadership skills and positive self-image around their body. And it's all through sports. I know some of you have met some of the girls because Private Vista has hosted what they call peer-to-peer luncheons. And so we get some of the older high school girls who come in and they actually interview us. And I know Lorena, I said like, wow, we were not that collected and thoughtful at age 16. So it's very impressive, the questions they get to ask about how did we get into our career? How do we balance having a life outside of the office? And then, of course, usually some financial questions come up. So those are kind of my top two of the ones I've been recently supported. Matt, do you want to go next and share what you're supporting?
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing just to start off that I try to always keep in mind is just being thoughtful in the way that I support other people's causes that where they approach me. I'll personally speak that it takes a lot of courage to ask anything of anyone in that respect, whether it's donating their hard-earned dollars or their time. And I try to keep that in mind when someone approaches me, and always support the organization in whatever way that I can, just to show that person that what they're passionate about means a lot to me, and it means a lot to me that they're willing to share that. And on that same line, the one cause in particular that I excites me and motivates me on a day-to-day, and I could talk for more time than we have here today, is Build Chicago. So Build Chicago is an organization that works here in the city's west and south sides and underinvested neighborhoods, and providing opportunities, mentoring, resources for underinvested youth and their families. So at last count, over 7,000 youth here in our city are a part of Build programs and the Build organization. And what my counterparts and I do on the associate board for Build is raise awareness and funds and provide hands-on support for the youth programs here in Chicago. It's really interesting to see, and powerful in the sense that you go into these neighborhoods. Build has actually proudly just unveiled their new youth center recently on the city's west side in the Austin neighborhood. So in the Austin neighborhood on Harrison Road. And it is amazing to see that through the support of their benefactors have built this beautiful facility where the youth can go and have a safe space to learn and be a part of these programs. And the big thing for me, at least, in kind of being in the field that we are in, is we talk about this concept of investment or underinvestment in particular in these communities. And it's really just doing whatever we can to provide more resources and more opportunities to the youth so that they can reach their full potential. Because I know, at least for myself, I consider myself lucky of having families, schools, an organization that I work at that's always invested in me. So it goes a long way to help the youth, at least in my view, that our youth here in the city have unlimited potential. And with our help, we can do our part in helping them reach that.
I love that. And I think too, a big part of that with having the youth centers, or that it also gives them a safe place to be when they're outside of school, but also the exposure so they can just kind of learn about what is out there that's potentially available, right?
That's so true. And something sometimes we might take advantage, or again, I'll speak for myself,
sure,
or take for granted rather, but to be that person, or at least a small part of that organization, to help show these youth what their potential really is just really rewarding. And we're all better for it here, living where we do, if we work together to build up these youth, so to speak. And it sounds cliche, but it's the truth. The youth and the children are the future of the city, and hopefully with our help, it can be a brighter one for them and for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Miss Lorena, how about you?
Yeah, definitely. One of the ways I like giving back is helping the elderly, especially my aunt. She lives on her own. She's 85 and doesn't have anyone. So I typically get her groceries, do her billing, and just listen. She needs someone.
I knew you were going to say that, but that's important, especially if she's living alone.
Yeah, definitely. Another way I do it, how Nicole had mentioned, I help a lot at my parish. I'm a minister of communion. I also help out in our program called Alpha, and just coordinate different fundraisers, different events, just to raise funds, just to have the community connected as one unity. Lastly, what I also participate, it's a program called Ellas. I've done a 5K walk with them, just joined, donated towards their organization. just making my community more aware about their mission is to create a safe space for Latinas who have been affected by breast cancer, especially my mom had breast cancer, and they were there to support her.
Oh, that's fantastic. That it's so you really need that community around you, and whether it's someone who is connected to you by blood or you've had a long-term relationship with, but I know just having kind of the community at large rally around you really makes a difference. So
Indeed.
yeah. And I love too how you kind of both of you touched on the kind of the full circle of life, if you will. So Matt started and I were talking about kind of the children and when they're at the earlier stages of life, and it's really important that they have support and awareness so they can understand the opportunities that could be available. And then Lorena, you brought us kind of back to the other end with your aunt who's 85 and how it's important at kind of both ends of that. I think a lot of times when we're in the middle of life, you've got whether it's siblings or a spouse or a significant other or chosen family. It seems like usually in the middle of life, we got that pretty strong, but then when you get towards the end, maybe that's not the case. And that's just as important to make sure we're respecting our elderly and making sure that they're taken care of because they probably did a lot taking care of us during our lives. So that's great. Thanks for sharing, you guys. I really appreciate you kind of opening up a little bit with myself and our listeners. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I think with that, why don't we maybe talk a little bit about, for those of our listeners who maybe they own their own company or they work at companies like Private Vista or even like some of the larger corporations, what are some of the ways we've seen or that they might be able to take back to their professional environments to be able to kind of leverage or implement for Giving Tuesday?
Yeah, and that's a great thought. Honestly, just maybe start simple or small and then work your way out from there. I think some of the
I think that's great advice in general,
just,
right?
Yeah, in many ways, but I'll speak for ourselves here at Private Vista and Hightower Advisors. The first thing we always look to is that we have a company match for us supporting qualified organizations, so legitimate charities with our hard-earned money. They're willing to match that up to a certain dollar amount. So that's not a tough math problem for all of us. If you can double your impact just by running that through your various procedures or things of that nature, I think that's an easy one to check off the box. And then kind of
too, just before you go on, that's a really important one because you're right. If you're going to be making a donation from your funds, why not, it may not be double, but why not like leverage it up or get more money for the organization that you're supporting for? I mean, your employer is going to get a tax deduction, so there's incentive on that end. But I think we're finding more and more that employers are looking at their biggest asset, which is their people. And they say, oh, if Matt Currier is helping this great organization build and he's giving his time and his money, how can we kind of show some appreciation for him?
So true.
So make sure to either check, either with your HR or benefits department, or I know many of us have like employer portals or things like that. You might be able to find, there's usually a form you need to complete. So I think probably now is a great time to be looking at that as we have Giving Tuesday. And as Matt referenced, we're getting, into the holiday season. So a lot of companies are promoting that right now.
Absolutely.
And what was your next idea?
Yeah. And working out from there, for our listeners who are in positions, decision makers, leaders of business at their companies, et cetera, keep an open mind and to the idea of a group outing similar to what Nicole and Lorena had described here at Private Vista, or if for your employees to have the ability for perhaps an in-service type of day. So meaning that on company time, so to speak, encouraging them to get out in the community and serve and volunteer and do the things that are most impactful on the clock, if you will. I think it goes a long way. Again, Nicole, you had alluded to that, showing that it's something that you care about. It's something that hopefully your employer and your colleagues can care about as well. I think that goes a long way.
And I think just to clarify, Matt, so we had talked about a Private Vista. We do it as a group outing all on the same day. And I believe what you're referring to here is some of the organizations will say, hey, every employee has, one in-service day, and you can take it, when you want to, obviously scheduling it ahead of time, but it's not that the whole company's doing it all on the same day, but you might take your day to do something for Build Chicago. Lorena might do something for the AES, things like that.
Right.
So, okay. All right. Any other ideas, Lorena? Do you want to share any, or
just in general, the charitable donations instead of a gifts type of thing, instead of giving a gift card, or being it more personal, coming from your heart, just be charitable.
I think that's a great idea. I know a lot of times I'll get, cards from other professional friends I have, if you will. And in lieu of getting a bottle of wine or the Amazon gift card, they'll say, hey, we donated, in your honor. And these are the 5 or 10 organizations that we're supporting this year. So I think it's a great way to pay it forward. And again, they're raising awareness. Some of the organizations I've never heard of. So I go out and Google them and I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Maybe I want to get more involved. All right. I think that kind of highlights some of the ways we talked about. Is there any other ones that we wanted to cover on that? I think we got them all.
Yeah, I think we covered all the
guys?
bases.
Okay, perfect. So I think that, we could, clearly the three of us are very passionate about it, putting our time and money where our mouths are, if you will. One of the things, as we opened, we said that generally we would be talking about kind of the dollars and cents of this. It's certainly not the main reason that's driving any of us to pursue these endeavors. But we at Private Vista are a financial planning and wealth management firm. Part of the reason for us naming our firm Private Vista is that we want to help our clients truly live and truly define and then live what their Private Vista looks like to them. And oftentimes it will have some type of charitable component. So if you are interested, for any of our listeners, in learning more about what are some of the strategies you can put in place so that it's in part of your overall financial plan, and understanding the how, when, and what of how that possibly could fit in, please feel free. We are, of course, are all very well versed on that and are happy to discuss that with any of you. So before we go ahead and kind of sign off here, I think, as you guys know, I ask all my guests a question. So Lorena, we'll start with you. If you could live anywhere, no time constraints, no financial constraints, really no constraints on you at all, where would you want to live and why?
I would definitely live in Hawaii.
Oh,
just because you could appreciate the beautiful scenery, the culture. I love the outdoors. So you could go the hiking, and especially you're not that far away. I'm still close to my family in the US, close to my family in Mexico.
I love that. Well, we'll certainly be coming over to visit, whether we're invited or not. So Matt, how about you?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me, especially with the no restrictions tag on it. But
Right.
If I had to choose one place, I'd say Lake Tahoe.
Ooh.
I'd been there for the first time recently, and it's for those of you who haven't been, very beautiful. And I'm a very avid downhill skier, so the conditions for that are wonderful in the winter. And in the summer, just to be that close to nature and the outdoors, and as well as the lake, it's just, I think, a perfect combination, at least for me, of touching all the bases of the things that bring me fulfillment in my life outside of work. So
I love it. Well, clearly you guys are both aligned with your love and appreciation for Mother Nature. So love that. All right. So I think with that, I want to thank both of you for sharing your time, and also for opening up and getting a little personal with myself and our listeners. I think it's great always to raise the awareness about the organizations that we're all supporting. But thank you so much for being in studio with me today. I appreciate you guys.
appreciate you. Thanks for having us on.
Likewise. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a fascinating discussion. And while I was listening, Nicole, I couldn't help but think of the phrase "all politics are local." And in the sense of the stories from you and for Lorena and for Matt show that giving can be local as well. I think sometimes we think giving is like a big project out there somewhere on the horizon, as opposed to something happening locally and that is personally meaningful. So very interesting conversation. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Nicole,
no,
you mentioned.
Oh,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I didn't say I couldn't agree more. I think there's certainly no shortage of people or organizations that are in need all around the world. But I'll speak for me. I don't want to speak on Matt and Lorena's behalf, but I think they're probably in agreement is that it kind of starts at home. And so, if you can make your own community or your own neighborhood a little bit better, kind of why not start from there? And then hopefully it'll have the ripple effect when you drop a stone in the pond, if you will, and build from there.
Exactly. And Nicole, you mentioned that part of what you do as a financial advisor is help people reach their private vistas. So if anybody is listening to this who isn't already a client of yours but wants to have a conversation, how would they reach out to you? How would they get a hold of you?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways that they could get in touch with us. So they can call us at 312-831-4370. And Lorena will be able to direct you to one of our advisors. Or if you want to go to our website at myprivatevista.com, on our homepage near the top right-hand corner, there's a Contact Us button. And so you can put your information there. In the notes section, please reference that you listen to our podcast, and we can also get you connected with one of our fabulous advisors that way.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Lorena. We really appreciate your participation in this podcast. And listeners, we thank you for listening. We hope you found the conversation useful and perhaps even inspiring. If you are not already a subscriber, we ask that you subscribe, hit the subscribe button. And this way you don't have to remember where you heard this podcast. It will be delivered to your listening device, and it will be there for your listening pleasure the next time Nicole puts an episode out. If you're so moved, please rate it and share it with others so that other people can learn about this podcast. I'm Bill Tucker, and on behalf of Nicole Romito and everybody at Private Vista, thank you for listening. And remember, do not wait. Live your best life today. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Dollars and Cents Creating Your Fulfilled Life with Nicole Romito, sponsored by Private Vista. Visit our website at www.myprivatevista.com or give us a call at 312-831-4370. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Private Vista is a group comprised of investment professionals registered with Hightower Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Advisory services are offered through Hightower Advisors, LLC. This is not an offer to buy or sell securities. No investment process is free of risk, and there is no guarantee that the investment process or the investment opportunities referenced herein will be profitable. Past performance is neither indicative nor a guarantee of future results. The investment opportunities referenced herein may not be suitable for all investors. All data or other information referenced herein is from sources believed to be reliable. Any opinions, news, research, analyses, prices, or other data or information contained in this presentation is provided as general market commentary and does not constitute investment advice. Private Vista and Hightower Advisors, LLC, or any of its affiliates make no representations or warranties expressed or implied as to the accuracy or completeness of the information or for statements or errors or omissions, or results obtained from the use of this information. Private Vista and Hightower Advisors, LLC assume no liability for action made or taken in reliance on or relating in any way to this information. The information is provided as of the date referenced. Such data and other information are subject to changes without notice. This was created for informational purposes only. The opinions expressed herein are solely those of the authors and do not represent those of Hightower Advisors, LLC, or any of its affiliates.